Hi, welcome. This is CIPD Central London. My name's Garen Rauch, and I'm really happy to tell you about an event we've got coming up on the 20th of October at 6:30, and it's called People Profession 2030, Be Future Fit, how to take the lead on optimizing your organization for change. So the whole session is based on the CIPD report that came out recently. They ran a hackathon to really understand what are the key trends that HR need to be aware of as they prepare for 2030. So we had a really big think about who could we actually invite that's done a lot of thinking about this already. And we were absolutely delighted that Perry Timms said yes to our request for his expertise. And so he'll be joining us along with Mel Green from CIPD, who actually ran the study. And we'll be having an hour and a half session where we're really going to explore how the profession might change, where they are right now, and how they need to develop and change to achieve that goal for 2030 as well. So in the next few minutes, we're just going to give a bit of a preview about what we're going to be talking about. So the session is going to be highly interactive. Perry's going to be running an actual lab, so it's a really great opportunity for you to bring your own questions and think about your own organizations and how you need to be ready for 2030 as well. So Perry, welcome, and thank you so much for making time.
Thank you, Garen. Nice to be here. So I've always had an interest in the future, particularly within HR and the people profession. And the hackathon last year, I was very active in, second on the leaderboard. And I remember the one in 2013 with Gary Hamill's Management Innovation Exchange as well. So me and hackathons and CIPD were a nice little trilogy.
Brilliant. Obviously, one of the reasons why I came to you is because I've read your book, really enjoyed it as well. But Thanks. Just for everyone, could you just take a little bit through about your background and some of the things that you've been thinking about recently with your book?
Yeah. So I'm in about year 19 of being in the HR profession, and proud to be a chartered member of CIPD, and have done some work in the past with Peter and the team there. Prior to that, I used to work in technology-driven change in the civil service. And I suppose towards the sort of more recent history of mine, it's been in OD, change, talent, that kind of thing, with a very strong interest still in digital. And I think there's some of the things about the challenges that have just been amplified, magnified, and accelerated through what we've had on the last couple of years that I've been hopeful that we'd see in my lifetime in work, and now we are starting to see some of them with remote working, flexible choice, and digital first. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what we get from this as a 2030 vision.
And I guess some of the things that we'll be looking at is what are the skills that HR need to develop to thrive in this kind of changing world. And some of the things we'll be talking about are agility and autonomy. The other things are sort of making horizon scanning a priority and scanning the external environment and helping people functions just adapt for the new context. From your perspective, what are the sort of the key things that HR needs to be focusing on to get ready for 2030?
And you start rightly with that scanning, and I think it comes from actually the profession map itself has always, I guess, pushed the element of curiosity. I think if you're not curious about your own business model, how people behave, how people respond to different types of leadership, then you're pretty much off to a slow start as it is. Curiosity can fuel quite a lot of this, but your sense of the external drivers' impact and manifestation of those gives us a chance to think about intelligence. And I think that's crucial. I think we've gone through a bit of a journey in HR where we've started talking about data and analytics, but really what we're talking about is intelligence. What can we do with it? So I think if we're good in that space, that's going to help because lots of business leaders are going, I don't know what to do next. And intelligence helps us plot at least the first steps. You talked about agility, and I think that's absolutely right. Responsive and creative solutions. I think that's definitely what we need. And then the other thing I'd say is almost like a three-part equation, which is how do we look after people? So there's wellness and future sort of skills and development. How does that connect to the performance we need now still and the performance we need in the future? And what is that? What value does it create and what impact does it have? And I think if we can claim those three areas and be really strong in them, I think we've got a really strong part to play in the 2030 vision of the world of work, let alone our own enterprise.
Brilliant. I guess one of the things I'm always curious about is because we're talking about agility, and obviously that means agile working, and agile is a big word. One person's agile is another person's remote work or hot desking. What's you use the definition of agile with a capital A and a small a? What's your definition of it?
So I think the small A is what you're talking about, which is, sort of flexible working approaches. The big A is a methodology that helps you do projects quicker, more inclusively, with more clarity, in smaller iterations. So I think the big A comes from the technology world and how it's developed products and services. The little a comes from the things we're more familiar with, which is remote working, flexibility, and so on. But I think HR's got a beautiful chance to bring the two of them together, because the tech world perfects the big A. And I suppose you'd say we've been playing much more with the small A. Well, if we claim a bit of the big A, I think we've got a good recipe for business continuity, for getting people to, provide a stronger sense of influence that they might be looking for, and just get rid of some of the bureaucracy that doesn't help us and gets in the way. So that's where I see the two A's coming together.
Brilliant. The last couple of years, sorry to say this word, are unprecedented in the life of HR. I had to get this in some point. I think if you spend 10 minutes just reading the feed on HR Ninjas on Facebook, you really start to get a scene for just some of the challenges that HR are having. How can HR actually make time to actually start looking as far out as 2030? And I guess in the session, how are you going to be making time to start thinking like that?
Totally right. So I totally get what you say about the drawdown into those really knotty, gnarly issues that people might go, look, I have to do this stuff every day. How on earth can I project to 2030 when I'm trying to stop people from doing mischievous acts or managers acting with toxicity? And it's like, actually, if you went back 10 years, you would see that the things we've created have not solved that problem. So you can expect another 10 years of it if you want to. We've got to stop the roundabout, though, and we've got to create something that punctuates that to give us a better runway into 2030. So saying I'm too busy with the now means you're just going to be too busy forever in the next 10 years. Somehow you've got to create something where you say, in 10 years' time, I don't want to be doing this stuff. So what can I do now that starts to chip away at this issue? So gradually it appears less and less in my to-do list because I've got more mature managers, I've got more responsive systems. So I think if you're in OD, as I know you and I are, we think like that a lot all the time. We think about the system and we think, what should it be? And then let's start architecting it now. And I think that's it. So if people say, I haven't got the time, it's like, just start with 20 minutes a day doing something that's better. And then that 20 minutes might turn into 20 minutes you've gained to do something else. So you've got 40 minutes. It can be exponential like that. So don't talk yourself out of it because you're busy. Give yourself a break and do some of this stuff to energize and solve some of those problems. Your future self will thank you.
And for people that are, coming up or considering signing up, what's the best way for them to sort of prepare their thinking to come along to get the most out of the session?
So I think there's a number of things they can unpack a bit before they come in. First one is, me personally as a practitioner, where do I want to be in 10 years' time? So what can I acquire, learn, and sort of set my own trajectory? Because I don't think we do that enough in HR. We think, what system and gain am I doing for the profession or the company? What about you? Start with you. What do you want? So have a think about that. But then the second thing is, but where am I with the problems I'm facing in the business world that I'm operating in? And start thinking about them from a scale of utterly wicked, unbelievably complex things that are like, I'm never going to get a chance to solve that. Don't dismiss it, bring it in. And then start thinking about those things that are in the tiers, like, well, that's probably next year's big issue. Next month I've got to tackle this, and next week I've got to tackle this, and tomorrow I've got to tackle this. I think stack them up, bring them in, because what we're hoping to do with this session is give you a chance to knock a few of those dominoes down. Even the big, massive, wicked one will give you a chance to think how you can start to navigate towards that. Bring them in, because we're not going to ask you to declare them, but we want them in your mind so that you can start to tag some of the solutions we're going to help you play with to that, so that the next day you can get going.
So we're really looking forward to the session. It's Wednesday, October the 20th. It's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. You can get tickets on the CIPD Eventbrite site, and we're really looking forward to seeing you there. And thanks again, Perry, for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Garen. Looking forward to it.